So I'm going to give a quick introduction. My name is Joshua Shin. I own the Joshua David Insurance Agency, another company called the Joshua David Marketing Group. What we're going to talk about today is AI, automation, technology, and implementing that into your Medicare business and into the insurance business as a whole. First thing I wanted to do, though, before I got into all this was explain what automation is and what AI is. These slides right here, automation, technology to perform tasks that humans normally would. Example of this would be text messages. So if we're able to pre-write a certain flow of text messages that go to consumer, think of if you've ever gone to a restaurant and there was a wait at the restaurant and they said, well, can we take your phone number? And you got one text that said, thank you for coming, here's a 15-minute wait, and then you get another text that says, your table's ready, come on in. So that's a perfect example of automation. So how we're implementing that is when we book the Medicare appointment, they're automatically getting a text confirmation for the Medicare appointment, and then they're automatically getting reminders and follow-up after the sale. What AI is adding intelligence to that process. So an example of how we're using that, and I'll show you guys a little bit later, would come in, if you look at the general Medicare sale or general insurance sale, kind of the first step, and whether this happens officially where you have a form that you fill out or whether this happens just in conversation, there's a fact-find process, which means you're finding out information about the customer and then you're inputting that information and then you're figuring out what plan is best for that customer. So how we do this with automation is we have a digital form where you can do a digital fact-find, input different preferences or different needs on a plan, and we're able to set parameters. So if somebody needs, let's say they go to a specialist X amount of times per year, or they need dental, or they don't need dental, or they need hearing, or they don't need hearing. And so automation wise, this is before AI comes in, we're able to filter those plans down. So we're able to say customer needs 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as benefits, and we're able to set parameters. If 1, 2, 3, and 4 fit the filters, essentially we're able to narrow that down to a few different plans. Now where AI comes into this is more in a conversational bout. So if you are familiar with ChatGPT, that's probably the best example, if you've ever played around with that, about conversational and how it's able to learn language with conversation and able to disseminate what kind of information is being portrayed from the customer. So when we look at AI implemented into the fact find example, it would be a conversation over text or email, and it's able to pull from that conversation what needs to be filled out in that fact find form, and then throwing that in the filter and figuring it out. Ultimately, through conversation, exactly what we do as agents, where the more we ask questions, the more we get down to the absolute best plan for the customer. That's what we're trying to build with AI, taking the fact find filter down to very plan specific, down to one plan, this is the best plan for you. So back in 2020, I purchased my first home, and then somebody told me, hey, before closing, we need to see your homeowner's insurance. So what did I do? I went on Google and I said, homeowner's insurance. So I ended up at a site called Hippo Insurance. Has anyone heard of Hippo Insurance? It's a very simple way to purchase home insurance. They say, I think it's under 60 seconds and you have a plan picked for you for a homeowner's policy, and that's game changing. So basically you input your property address on there, you answer a few questions about either the property or either what kind of coverage you need. A few seconds later, they say this is the absolute best plan for you. So in 2020, I kind of had like a light bulb moment because I realized it was starting to happen back then with life insurance. It wasn't happening at all with Medicare yet, and part of the reason for that was CMS had a third-party online enrollment regulations up until 2021. So essentially the only people who could do a self-enrollment tool back in 2020 was going to be either a carrier or Medicare.gov. So I had this light bulb moment in 2020, and I said, well, nobody's implementing this in Medicare. What if I could build a platform that implemented this technology into Medicare, basically the basic fact find, and basically make it really good where it picks the best plan for people. But then there was a problem. So what happened was we found out that we had a lot bigger competitors in this space, and there was no way we were going to be able to compete on that business model, meaning being a third-party agency and trying to build a self-enrollment tool and just make it the best possible and enrolling the consumer. And some of the competitors, Amazon, Walmart, Policy Genius, Lemonade, there's definitely a lot of other competitors that were moving into this exact same business model, this exact same space. When I realized that Amazon, Walmart, Policy Genius, Lemonade, and a lot of others were moving into that space. Being a Medicare agent, that was a kind of a scary thought because, if they implement that really well, you think about when Amazon launches a product, that product is easy to use. You think about the seniors that we deal with, they shop on Amazon, they know how to do Amazon, and they're going to build a really good system for enrolling people. So that's where we're at right now, and over the next couple of years, it's this AEP, it's next AEP. It's coming soon, where at some point, we're going to have Amazon and Walmart and the rest of them that we're going to be competing with as agents. So we have to create some way that we're going to compete, because right now, especially right now, if Amazon comes out with an enrollment tool, it's going to be 10 times easier than contacting an agent or anything else than it's going to be to enroll with Amazon, essentially. So another thing I thought of when 2020 and I had the whole homeowners insurance epiphany was I thought about my mom, because my mom is 59 going on 60, she's 5 years away from Medicare, and if I wasn't a Medicare agent, there's not a chance that my mother would shop for Medicare the way that people shop for Medicare right now. So there's not a chance my mom is calling some agent, having some agent come out to their house, dealing over the phone if there's an online alternative. Because that's how my mom shops for things. You think about when's the last time you went on vacation, and then think about when's the last time you used a travel agent on vacation. The travel agents, Tony uses a travel agent because he's traveling every other day. He's a person who needs a travel agent, but for the one vacation that we go on a year, or let's say the one plan that we need to enroll or shop options for the year, do we need that agent? So that's kind of another example as far as travel agents. But if you guys are life agents and you guys have done life insurance, you guys have seen this happen already in the life insurance industry, where a lot of it has gone online, a lot of it's been commoditized, and it's just becoming tougher in that market. So how do we create a competitive advantage over big companies like Amazon, Walmart, and the life insurance and homeowners insurance, the chop shops that are online right now? The one nice thing about Medicare, once people enroll with an agent, a good agent, not a hit and run agent that's there for a commission one time and isn't there after the sale. Once they enroll with a good agent, like myself, the service is what keeps them on the books. So they see the value of the agent after the sale, not necessarily before the sale, because before the sale, frankly, they could probably figure it out themselves and enroll, but why do you enroll with an agent? It's the service. We're creating a lot of things as far as customer retention goes, and as far as online customer retention goes. Our goal at the end of the day is we want to close the gap between us and Amazon and Walmart, make it as easy as possible to get in contact with us before the sale and get to an enrollment and do an enrollment. And then we want to continue that easy process after the sale, because that's what really differentiates us. We're not going to be able to differentiate on if every agent has a self-enroll link. How does that differentiate us? But if we're able to differentiate on service and create, maybe it's a tiny bit harder to get to the enrollment, do the enrollment, but if after the enrollment they know that they have an agent that they're able to contact, that needs to be our little niche, because we're not going to compete on anything else other than service after the sale. One of the keys to this is we want to move customers, and I've done this outside of this software, is move customers to text-based customer service. The last couple of years, what I've really tried to do with every customer is I've really tried to tell every customer, hey, I'm very busy. Sometimes I'm on an appointment with you right now, right? I just spent 45 minutes with you in your house. I don't want to be rude to other people if I'm getting if people are calling me, if you could just text me for everything. And to be honest with you, a lot of customers are more happy to text than they are to call anyway, because when they call, a lot of times they do feel like they're bugging you because they know you're a busy guy, and then they text you. They can text you at midnight and it's not a big deal because you'll just get back to them in the morning. I think the other thing when it comes to technology and Medicare specifically, and why not a whole lot of people have done a whole lot with tech in Medicare, is because people have this notion in their mind that everybody's an 85-year-old that doesn't use an iPhone or an Android. People have this notion in their mind, everybody on Medicare can't figure out how to use a computer or can't figure out how to text you. We need to get that out of our mind. I have a 98-year-old lady, and she sends me GIFs, however we say it, every single holiday. Every holiday, she's 98 years old. She sends me emails all the time. She texts me, she sends me long texts, emojis. She probably knows how to use that, like all that texting features with the extra stuff on there, because I don't like text other than, I'm doing it because it's easier to manage a book that way, but I'm not all into emojis and everything. And she said to me like, hey, Merry Christmas, and 7 emojis along with it. But that's a 98-year-old woman. So they really are embracing it. So I think we need to get that out of our head. Yeah, there are old people who don't use a smartphone, who use a flip phone, who don't use technology. But a lot of them do. Especially when COVID hit, we got used to Zoom. We got used to, a lot of them did church over Zoom every Sunday. They learned how to do it. So if they learn how to do certain things during COVID, we can teach them how to learn how to do it to get better Medicare service and to have, to have that part of it. So really quickly, before I get to the rest of it and the technology, I just want to talk about why we're focused on Medicare and why we're not focused on other insurance verticals, why Medicare is the vertical. So the first one is it's not a commodity. So as these things go online, it hasn't been commoditized yet. That's not to say that Medicare isn't going to be commoditized as more things in the technology progresses and possibly the carriers move towards more of a commoditized format. But in the current form, Medicare is not commoditized. So Medicare is something that's tailored to the customer. So when it comes to life insurance and you go to Policy Genius or Lemonade, you pick your term or your whole life or your dollar amount and you put your age in and it spits out a thing. And a lot of people, when it comes to life insurance, they shop on price, and that's pretty much a lot of insurances out there. They shop on price. The difference when it comes to health insurance, and particularly Medicare, is it's the only insurance that you purchase with the intention to use at some point. You don't purchase health insurance and wait to die, and then that's when it goes into effect. You purchase health insurance, and you're using your health insurance that year. You're going to go to a doctor, you're going to use dental, you're going to use whatever comes with that plan. That's the difference between Medicare and every other insurance, is you buy it with the intention to use it. So when you're buying it with the intention to use it, that creates a need for service. So I really believe this is where we're going to compete against the Amazons and the Walmarts, is on service, because Amazon is going to go for the enrollment and the mass enrollments. We're going to go for optimizing service, and if we can optimize service and automate a lot of the service level side of things, so it's not taking 8 hours a day to service your book, but if you can have technology do a lot of the service, even though to the consumer facing, it may seem that it's an agent maybe chatting with them, it might be an AI bot, but if we can create that image and we can create that appearance that they're getting one-on-one service from an agent, and then when they need to call somebody, you're there. That's where we fit in this whole picture of Amazon and Walmart and everybody coming into play. So the other thing is Medicare offers a strong renewal. So essentially you're getting paid every year the same amount that you got paid when you first enrolled the client. So that's a important thing. And the last part, which I already touched on, is the client needs service after sale. Again, it's the only insurance that people buy with the intention to use, which means they need service and they need somebody to talk to on an ongoing basis. So we need to make it easy and create that. The title of this presentation, it's traditional to tech driven. So the way that most of us are running our business, even myself in a lot of areas, we're trying to implement as much technology as possible, is we're doing a very traditional sales approach, which means a lot of phone calls, a lot of home appointments. Even if you're texting, a lot of manual texting, when we can automate all that. What we did was we created an app. The website is app.joshuadavid.ai. It's one login, and it's every kind of technology tool possible that you need to run your business within one application. So even if you were going to implement everything that we're talking about, you're talking about 15 different websites. Are you going to keep bookmarks on your computer? How are you going to access all those websites? And then how are you going to access them easily? So the idea with this is we want to create one login with everything that you need at your fingertips and make it as simple as possible. If you were going to go from the traditional to the tech-driven route, the first step on that is going to be to have an agent website. So, and this is an area where I see people just getting ripped off as far as insurance agencies and insurance agents or agencies. And a lot of people just don't know how easy it is to build a website, and they get ripped off. So I see people having like a setup. I've seen like setup fees are like $500, and they'll charge the agent like $100 a month to have an agent website. What we decided to do was we built in your website, your agent website, right into our portal. You upload your logo, you upload your headshot, you upload your contact information, you customize things a little bit. You can customize it as much as you want. In a couple of minutes, you have an agent website. And then you buy a domain name, which we'll show you how to do. It's very simple, and that's another area where people get ripped off at, but you can get a .com domain name for about $10 a year. So we link your .com, and the website is all about legitimacy. If you're talking to two different insurance agents, and you look at two different insurance agents' business cards, and one says josh@medicarewithjosh.com, the other one says Joshua Shin Insurance at gmail.com, just off of that, I'm picking the guy with the email address, because he definitely is probably more legitimate than the guy who is the Gmail address. The next part is landing pages with funnel integration. This is what lead gen is when it comes to websites. So when we're talking about a website, and this kind of ties in with the SEO optimization as well, because a lot of these companies that do agent websites for people, they package it with SEO optimization, and they say, okay, we're going to get you on the first of Google. SEO stands for search engine optimization. What that means is it's essentially optimizing your page to rank high on Google if somebody maybe searches for like a Medicare agent in their area. SEO was really easy back then because Google was updating their stuff like every 6 to 12 months. Now the way Google works is like every day something changes. So you get a little bit better with SEO software. So like we have an integration for SEO for your website if you want it on there. What generates leads is landing pages, because you can run an ad targeted to a specific subgroup to a landing page with an offer or a book a call or an event or a seminar. So the next part, and this gets a little bit more complex, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it so anybody can log into here and use it. So even though what I'm talking about might sound pretty complex, we're trying to make it as simple as possible for like the end user to use. So this is automation, phone system, email, funnels. You take the example of you book an appointment, you get a confirmation text, you get a reminder text the next day, and we usually do email and text all in one. You take that, you build on that, right? So now you take, let's say, a lead that is interested. Now they get a text from, the lead gets a text, lead gets an email, and we run through a series of text and email automations. So these are all pre-written automations. If you think about it, if you were to communicate over text with 100 different leads, it's probably a series of the same text messages over and over again. You could pretty much copy and paste them to every single lead, and depending on the response, if the response is this, you can copy and paste that. If the response is this, you can copy and paste the other one. So that's what we did, but it's automated. So basically, we're able to have a lead come in, and we're able to, responses, let's say a positive, yes, no, sure, fine. We're able to filter it 2 different ways, and then the second text that they get is going to be dependent on the first response. And that's kind of where AI gets in, and AI starts to bring this thing to the next level, because as we're able to build more parameters and we're able to build more around that, we're able to have it understand more of what's going on in the conversation, and we're able to tailor those conversations even further. But we do have like the automated workflows are built. The next part is we have an integrated phone system. So this is pretty important, obviously, because we're talking about texting clients, and we're talking about that's how we get in contact with clients is a text message base. So we have an integrated phone system, text, call recording, HIPAA compliance, all the stuff that we need for Medicare. Just like working any other lead where you need permission to contact, we still need permission to contact on these leads. The thing is, rather than you doing all the work, why don't we set up a workflow that is what you were going to text them anyway, and why don't we create that so you don't have to do it, and we're just funneling out the people who are interested, getting appointments booked with the people who are interested, and we're spending our time more with people who are interested in talking to us about Medicare rather than filtering through, let's say, 100 leads that you just bought. And So this works really well when we're talking about something like an aged lead, where a lot of lead companies look at this stuff and they say that an aged lead to companies like at Post AEP, for example, that becomes garbage almost to them after AEP is over. We can if we can get really low lead costs, like 10 cents a lead on aged leads, and if let's say we dump 100 and we get one out of 100, we spent $10 to get an appointment with a customer. Book of business, retention management, automated touches and check-in, and our AI chat in testing with that. So what this is when you get a really large book of business, like I give the example, when I first started out, everybody got a happy birthday text and a whatever and an email. When you get to, I have about 700-ish people on my book. When you get to that number of people, I can't send everybody a birthday text. I can't send everybody a birthday call or a birthday email. Even like Christmas cards is like there's a little bit of an ulterior motive when it comes to Christmas cards around Christmas. I do handwrite them all still because I send them out about a week before Thanksgiving, and pretty much every single time it's a handwritten card. It looks very personalized to them. Somebody's at the Thanksgiving dinner table and you get referrals out of it. So there is a little bit of a motive to me doing handwritten Christmas cards. But a lot of these touches, like, why? It's so easy to automate that. Why not you could throw your book of business in there and everybody gets a text, once a quarter to check in. They get a Christmas text, they get a birthday text, they get here and there. So we're trying to automate everything that you need to do with your book of business over text, other than maybe if they have an issue or something. Then we created, it's a support ticket system. So if somebody does have an issue, and this is both agent facing and consumer facing, depending on how you want to utilize it, but if somebody has an issue, let's say, they go on the form, or you fill the form out with them if you're on the phone with them, or you're texting them, and basically drop down box, what's the issue? We got a list of issues on there. Boom, member name, all the information that we might need to help them out with their issue. Then we're able to, this part isn't fully built yet, but we should be able to basically funnel those based on the responses into, we want to separate it by carrier, and then separate carrier by issue, and then basically say issue resolved by doing X. So if, let's say, somebody needs a new ID card with a carrier. So the form gets filled out, whether it's by you or whether it's by the consumer facing. From there, it's able to filter out, okay, it's this carrier. This carrier is able to provide an online ID card. Message to the agent, hey, you need to order this person an ID card. And the other side, if they don't offer an online ID card, it's, hey, you need to call the carrier. Here's the number. We're trying to make it as easy as possible on like that side of things when dealing with a customer support issue. But the more we're able to transition people to text, the more easy it is to integrate book of business retention over text, because we're able to text them. And it's like after the sale. So do a 90-day text. So a week after, a couple days after the sale, just checking in. Do you mind leaving me a Google review? We integrate it, which I'll go on the next slide, with Google review. So like your Google business profile is already logged in on the software, and it just shoots them a link to shoot you a review. Then like a week or two after the sale, just to check in, check your ID card. A month after the sale, check in again. 60 days, check in again. So that's the idea with customer retention, is to automate all that, because it's all the same. At the end of the day, the check-ins and the birthday messages and the Christmas and whatever other holiday you want to tell them to celebrate or wish them a happy holidays. That's all. It's all copy and paste. So basically, whatever we can copy and paste and spread to all of the clients, all the leads, we've done that. Or if we haven't thought of something, then that's where we need agents, because it's like now we need input data. So what do we miss, right? So when it comes to agents using the platform, it's like, hey, well, it'd be really nice if XYZ was on here. Okay, so then we work on adding it. So when it comes to building something like this, you need it's a software integrator, and they've gotten a lot easier over the years to basically integrate. And we're specifically integrating through Zapier. The reason for that is Zapier has pretty much any application on the internet. There's over 3,000 applications that you can integrate through a Zapier and then into a whatever portal you want to do. When it comes to, at a most basic level, like a Google review. So If we enroll a client, we're able to send them a text automatically after the enrollment. Like every enrollment, you just click a button that you mark them as a sale. They automatically go into the funnel for the 90-day, and they automatically get a text from you, hey, do you mind leaving me a review? So, and that's all integrated, like your Google business is logged into here, so you're not having to manually copy and paste a link or anything. Like that's going to pull the link automatically. So the next part is calendar. So we have Google Calendar. We have basically integrations with any of the major calendars. So like Apple Calendar, Outlook, anything that you're using as far as a calendar. Let's say that you book an appointment with a client, right? So it automatically goes on your calendar, and that's pretty cool. But the customer is automatically going to get a text and email reminder. That customer is going to get basically if they reply yes to that email, that's going to automatically go onto their Google Calendar. If they use an Android, it's going to go onto their Apple Calendar. If they use an iPhone, if you're doing virtual appointments or doing something over Zoom, we have it integrated with Zoom. You just have to log into your Zoom account. But basically, if you were to book an appointment over Zoom, same process where a customer gets a text and email confirmation, but it's just going to automatically go into your Zoom account. It's going to automatically create a link for that Zoom. It's going to automatically go in the email and text. I kind of went over Facebook ads, so we have we can link this to Facebook ads very easily. We just need on your Facebook ads manager. There's a little code that we need to copy and paste into there. Once we have that, though, if you're running a lead campaign, immediately when somebody fills in their information on Facebook, that's going to immediately go into the system, and then we would assign a funnel to that. So at that point, the person's going to get an automated series of text and email about whatever they filled out on Facebook. We have integrations with basically all of your social media platforms. So if you did want to start putting content out there, we can schedule your content. This is part of where we'd use ChatGPT, because what happens with Facebook is if we created a template for you, like we created a copy and paste this into Facebook, Facebook's going to flag that because we're going to have a bunch of different accounts posting the same content, and they're going to flag it and shut your Facebook account down. However, we can ask ChatGPT to say, hey, can you write me a quick educational post about Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage? And at that point, it's not plagiarized. That's going to be unique to whatever you put in on there. And at that point, you can have a unique Facebook ad, and it's not going to get flagged by Facebook system. This is introducing Monica. So Monica, that's her picture. This is my assistant. She's been my assistant for a couple of years now. What we're doing is we're creating a virtual Monica. It's sad when you say it that way, but it's not. In my case, I'm not firing Monica. Monica's getting a promotion in this case because Monica's going to be able to manage the software that we're running, and instead of dealing one-to-one with a client, she's going to be able to manage 100 different clients all at the same time. What we're trying to do with this is take it past appointment booking. So right now, when it comes to an AI bot, it's very good at appointment booking. So you can run it through an automation funnel, and basically you can get it to a point where it's going to determine whether or not maybe a person wants to meet with them, and go back and forth a couple texts to schedule an appointment. And you can do that all over text. Where we want to get it to is for it to do more. So we want it to be able to answer Medicare questions. We want to be able to answer basic things. And in testing, it works. So in testing, I can give our chatbot, which we named Monica, I can give that chatbot 2 different Medicare plans, and I can have it give me a simple little paragraph that tells me the differences between the two and why one might be better than the other for a certain situation. So again, getting back to like the beginning with a fact find, if we're able to do almost a fact find over text, email, have the AI bot fill in our fact find form and then funnel that through, we're able to filter out the best possible plan for a customer without an agent even interacting with that. So the issue with some of this stuff past appointments, because we could probably launch like a basic Medicare questions. So basically if a customer had a question, they texted you, at this point we can basically have it answer basic Medicare questions and does a good job. The issue with it is going to come down to compliance. So when it comes to Medicare, it's very regulated. We want to make sure it's 100%. So it's 100% accurate, it's 100% compliant. And so that takes a lot of testing and a lot of like setting parameters really tight for what we want it to say and what we don't want it to say, and making sure that it understands that certain questions that are phrased different ways mean the same thing. So the longer that we test that, the more of an agent's job the bot is actually going to be able to take over as far as answering questions, customer service, differentiating plans. That's where it's going. It just needs to be done right. It needs to be done compliantly. It needs to be done accurately. And that's kind of where we're at with it. Eventually, we want Monica to be a resource for an agent. So if you're on the phone with a client or texting a client, somebody has a question that you maybe don't know the answer or maybe think you know the answer, if this thing is 100% accurate, 100% compliant, we're able to ask it whatever question, it's able to give us the accurate, compliant response. That's better than any agent could do. So it'll be an agent resource, it'll be a customer resource. I'm really excited about it, and there's so much more that you see that you just can't do because it's not compliant and it's not always 100% of the time accurate. But we're getting there, and that's where agents come into play is data. So the more data we have, we're basically logging everything we do on a daily basis, trying to create prompts and trying to create scenarios so we can get the spot better.